It's Jessica from Peace Love Books and Shame here with my top 12, I think, historicals of 2022. That means these are all the historical romances I read this year and loved. I am wearing my Highlander romance sweatshirt to celebrate the fact that I'm filming this video. I will say it has been a little bit of a weird reading year for me when it comes to historical romances. I was absolutely loving the genre through like April. Then I burnt myself out reading them because Bridgerton season 2 came out in March and I like was obsessed. I could not get enough. I was reading an insane amount of historical romances and then I just stopped for a little bit, and I've been reading some here and there, but I haven't been picking up the best ones. A lot of the new ones are not my favorite, so I need to go back to reading old historicals. I still need to do my old school OG historical romance video where I'm reading like the first historical romances, but I have 12 here to chat about with you that I'm very excited to read, so I will go ahead and get to all the historical romances I've absolutely loved this year. The first one's one I will not stop talking about, and I am literally obsessed with this author now, and I need to read more from her. That's Yours Until Dawn by Teresa Medeiros. This one is a Beauty and the Beast retelling too. I read two Teresa Medeiros historical romances. This one was my absolute favorite. It was so good. We have a hero who is blind and grumpy and angry at the world, and he will not go anywhere. His fiance ended up leaving him because he had gone blind, and so he is just angry. He has a new nurse who has taken this job because he's scared off every nurse he's had, and she is unlike any of the other ones. She is not willing to take his crap about anything, and so she decides to clean up the house. She is trying to bring light to everybody and just change the hero's life, and he hates her for it, but then they slowly start falling for each other, and like their little stolen like touches are just so amazing. The angst in here is so good. There was a shock, a surprise near the end that had me going, what? And I just could not put this book down. It shocked me. The romance was so good. I was obsessed with it, and I'm excited to read more from this author, but this book, just probably my favorite historical of the year, like hands down. Then the next one I have is the last one in the Hathaway series. I did read most of that series this year and I really loved it, but Love in the Afternoon, we have been leading up to this heroine story, Beatrix. Beatrix, I think, is the youngest, and she's like very eccentric. She loves animals and is always like getting into little shenanigans, and so she actually decided to take the place of her friend in writing to a soldier, and so the soldier thinks he's writing to her friend, but he's really writing to Beatrix. And she is sending these really personal letters falling for him, and he returns from the war with his adorable dog, and he's definitely wounded from it. Like, he is having a hard time coming back to society, and he thinks he has this image of this woman who he was falling in love with, and she's really different than what he was writing to. And then he is running into Beatrix, and he had been a little rude to her when they were growing up because she was very eccentric, and Beatrix has always held that against him. But they start spending time together too, and she is really close to his dog, and it just goes from there, and it's so good. I love a good epistolary romance, and I really like it when they're pretending to be someone else and don't realize they're falling for each other, and so this was a great end of the series. The family's amazing. I love the family dynamic. If you love the Bridgerton series, you should definitely read the Hathaway series. It just gets better with each book, and I love this one. Another historical I was obsessed with this year is The Marquess Makes His Move by Diana Quincy. Book 1 ended up being one of my top favorites of the year. I read that one. Book 2 was a bit of a disappointment, but this one was so good. Our heroine is actually secretly a map maker. Her father was a map maker. She learned from him, and she is the one who makes the maps, and her father passes away, so she has to marry his apprentice in order to be able to continue her business. So she is publishing the maps under her husband's name, and so she doesn't really love her husband. They end up getting a new footman, and the new footman is actually Marquess, and he is undercover because he's upset because a map was drawn where he was cheated out of land, and he's like, I'm gonna get to the bottom of this. I'm gonna get that land back because it's losing him money. And so he ends up becoming a servant in their household and is put in charge of like being the heroine's servant, and they start falling for each other, and obviously she's married. He's lying about his identity, and it's really sweet how he starts to really get close with the other servants and like wanting to give them things because he feels really bad, and he's like, well, here's something that like someone gifted to me, and like I'm gonna share it with all of you, and they're like, sure. And so it's just a lot of fun. There's so many layers to this story, and a little bit of angst because she is currently married. There is an HEA, so they're gonna end up together, and no, they do not murder the husband. He doesn't die, but this one was so good. Some shocks at the end too. Love the romance. Loved everything about this one. Another one that I forgot I read this year, that's the Scoundrel of My Heart by Lorraine Heath. I did just read book 3 of the series, and I didn't love it, but this one I loved, and this one our heroine needs to marry someone titled in order to inherit this house. house that was really special to her from her grandmother, and so she actually starts falling for, I think he's her brother's friend or her sister's brother. They're connected in some way. She has gained the attention of a duke. Oh yeah, I think this is the first book in the series actually, and the second one was my favorite last year. It was so good. So I went back and read this one, and the second one is the duke put out like a advertisement in the paper for a wife, and so she is like first in line in the running to marry this duke, which would be great because then she gets her inheritance and everything she wants, but she's falling for this guy who is actually the second son of someone, and he is, I believe, like opening different clubs for people who are not like firstborn gets everything, and there's something happens and there's like a bit of a time jump in here which surprised me, so this definitely had a lot more angst than I was expecting, and I really enjoy this. Lorraine Heath writes angst so well and emotion so well and makes you so deeply invested in the characters, so I enjoy this one. I'm really sad I didn't love book 3, but I have her new book, which is in a new series. I have high hopes for that, but love her. She will always end up on my top of the year list. The next one I read pretty early on in the year, and that is The Lady Tempts in Air by Harper St. George. The first book of the series was just okay, but I've loved books 2 and 3 of it, and I'm really excited for the next one. So this one, our heroine actually helped the heroine from the second book, and the second book, the heroine's brother is the hero of this book. So they had met and trying to help their sister who had run away, and so they have like a little bit of a tension between them, and the hero is being pressured to marry by his father in order to be able to run the shipping company that they own, and the heroine's being pressured to marry so that she can get investments for a charity she runs for single mothers, and so they decide to have a fake engagement where they're telling people they are getting married so that people can get off their backs and so that she can get money for her charity, but they end up really falling for each other, and the heroine does, I think that she was married before and she's a widow if I remember correctly, because she does know that she is infertile and she can't have children, and she is very upfront with that with the hero and doesn't want to make him be with her because she knows how important having an heir is in their society, and that was a really big part of this plot. But I just really love this one. I love the characters and their romance. I love them wanting to be in a fake relationship for different reasons but falling for each other because they had that little bit of past together anyways. It was so good. Definitely love this author and really excited for what she has to come. Then an old school historical that I absolutely loved was Night Secrets by Kat Martin. And this one I was really excited for because it does have an amazing step back. It takes place on a ship, so our heroine is wanting to leave a horrible life she leads, so she decides to sneak off on a ship for a captain who she's kind of had a thing for. The captain does figure out she is stowed away and he's super angry, and then, but it's like, I think it's too late to turn around or something, so she does help out around the ship, and something happens where they do crash because it's clear someone is trying to sabotage the hero. He ends up losing the use of his legs and becomes a recluse living at this estate pretty far away, and he is just crumbling as a human. He feels like he has no purpose if he can't sail and be on the seas, and so his brother asks the heroine to come and try to help him, and it is so good. They really do feel like two completely different books though, because the first half is them like on the ship bantering, falling for each other, and then the second half is him without being able to use his legs, trying to see if there is some way for him to gain mobility back and him trying to find a purpose in life again. Very emotional, but so good. I am really excited to read more from Kat Martin because I just love this one. The next one is To Covet a Countess by Sapna Bog. I'm so excited to discover this author because the two that I read by her have Indian or half Indian heroines. So in this one, the heroine is from India and she is trying to run away from a really bad situation, and especially to protect her sister. So they run away to England where she knows that her cousin is, and her cousin had married, I think, a duke, and so she really wants help from her, and she's like trying to like break into her house because no one's home, and she's like, I have nowhere else to go. And the hero is really good friends with the hero from book 1, and he's like, what are you doing trying to break into here? They kind of have a little situation going on, and then they have to spend a lot of time together because he's going to help her come out in society because he is close friends with her cousin's husband, and they end up falling for each other. The hero does have some problems of his own and he's trying to work through those, and they do affect their relationship together, and she is still trying to run away from someone from her past, and things kind of come to a head at the end, which was really something that had me like on the edge of my seat, so I couldn't put this down both for the romance and the plot, and I had a lot of fun reading it. Then I have A Matter of Temptation by Stacey Reed. This one was a pleasant surprise. Now I did see someone talking about it. I think it might have been Jessin, and I realized that I don't think this is part of the Sinful Wallflower series. Is this a standalone. I thought it was part of that series because the covers look similar, but she mentioned it being a standalone, so I didn't realize that. But this one, our heroine is a twin. Her brother has their estate and he is not managing it well, so he tries to gamble to get some money and horrifically loses and tries to cheat and ends up in a duel with someone. And so she's like, you're gonna get yourself killed. You're gonna lose this duel. Let me go in your place because I'm much better at sword fighting than you are. So she kind of makes it so that she ends up going in his place dressed as a man. She beats the hero who's an earl, and the earl is so infatuated with her that he gives her a job. So he is like, I want you to be my secretary, and she's like, women are not secretaries. He's like, I don't care, you're amazing and you're gonna do it. And so she ends up being a secretary, and it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy this romance. I love their relationship together. She does get to just really live an exciting life that she never thought she could before, and it was really good. I love the fiery chemistry between the characters. Stacey Reed writes the best historical romances, so this one was great. Then I have Ransom by Julie Garwood. I feel like as long as I read a Julie Garwood in the year, it's going to be a favorite of mine. This one, our heroine, she was in a very bad situation that happened with, I think it was her sister, and they got separated, and now she is being blackmailed into finding her sister and finding something important to someone. And so she has to go into Scotland to find her sister and find this artifact, and the hero is someone, I think he was the one escorting her there, and they end up falling for each other. But of course, it's the Scottish versus the British, and they really hate each other, and they end up traveling a lot together. And there's a secondary plot line as well with another romance, which was really sweet. There was just a lot of action and adventure in here, and you know, with a Julie Garwood book, there's going to be a lot of adventure and really great romance and banter, and they're just a fun time. The hero and the heroine especially have really great banter, so I could not get enough of this romance. I love them so much. And then the heroine trying to understand her relationship with her sister, and I really love a good English versus Scottish romance, and this did not disappoint. Then I have a Joanna Shupe, who also always ends up on my list. This is The Bride Goes Rogue. This one, our heroine has thought for years that she was betrothed to this guy, that their father set it up, and she shows up and she's like, we need to plan our wedding. And he's like, we're not getting married. And she is so angry, and she decides to just throw everything out the window and live life how she wants to, which includes going to a scandalous party where scandalous things happen and having a fling. And it's really fun. I don't want to spoil anything else from there because you really need to be able to just go in not knowing where the plot's going in order to enjoy everything that happens. But I love this one so much. The covers are amazing of the series. They give the clinch effect that we're missing in today's romances, but really love this one. The hero is definitely hard to like because he's very selfish and does not see how his decisions affect other people, and the heroine really tries to put him in his place and say, like, stop doing this because it's hurting me. And I really love that about this. I really love the heroine. This was a lot of fun. Super excited to get to the next one that I have an arc of that comes out next month. I am dying to read it. Then I have Dreamy of You by Lisa Kleypas. This one is a beloved historical romance. Love the setback. This one has Derek Craven, and I have been putting it off because I was scared I wouldn't love it, but this one's amazing. So we have our heroine who's actually a writer, and she's trying to do some research and going to some bad places in town, and Derek finds her in a lot of sticky situations and ends up helping her along the way, and they end up spending a lot of time together, and he's trying to protect her while she wants to experience all these things. I had a lot of fun reading this. Derek Craven is definitely very swoon worthy. Now, is he my favorite Lisa Kleypas hero, and is this my favorite Lisa Kleypas book? No, but I did have a lot of fun reading it. I do agree that this is definitely a book that you can't put down, and you do swoon over him. Like, he falls so hard for her, and there's these like little things that you're just like, you really do love her, and I really love that about this book, and I think that's why everyone loves Derek Craven. And the last one I have is actually a recent one that I'm really happy I loved, and that is The Duke Most Wanted by Lenore Bell. Our hero is not treated well at all by his father, and is told a secret by his father that makes him want to just completely destroy their family name. So his father passes away, he becomes a duke, and he gambles, he sleeps around, and he doesn't take really good care of their title or anything like that. And so what happens is he realizes through gossip that his sisters are not going to be able to find good matches because of his reputation, and so he freaks out and he decides he needs to marry someone. And the heroine is actually the music teacher of his sisters, and I was really reminded of Bridgerton and like the Hathaways with how close the family was together, and especially the Smythe Smith series by Julia Quinn with all the sisters and them trying to find good matches. And so the heroine is really trying to help them and tell the hero, you cannot just pawn off your sister sisters to various people because you like wash your hands of them and say like, oh, they're married. Like, they are people with aspirations and they want to choose their husbands, and it was a lot of fun. I really loved their dynamic because they fell really hard for each other, even though he was like, had no idea who she was in the beginning. I was getting her name wrong. She's always crushed on him, and it was very sweet. Social class difference. He's like, I can't marry her because I gotta marry well, so my sisters can marry well, and I just had a lot of fun reading this one, and I'm excited. I loved it because Lenore Bell is one of my favorite authors for historical romances, and this was another hit for me. And those are my favorite historical romances of 2022. Let me know what your favorite ones you read were. I would absolutely love to hear, and that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching, and have a good day. Bye.